Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to assignment number 9 of Speak. This assignment is 4 parts. We have peeled and cord. We have First Amendment, second verse. We have Wombat's Rule, and we have winter break. Now, in these 4 sections, let's see if we can find any more clues or hints about what really happened to Melinda from that night. Remember, we're getting them from a lot of her thoughts and by some of the very few things that she says, because she doesn't trust anybody, of course, and she doesn't talk to her parents at all. And those are probably the people she needs to trust and talk to the most. So let's see what happens with Melinda. Is she going to be okay? At this point in time, it doesn't look very good for her because whatever happened is clearly destroying her from the inside out. It's doing just a number on her in so many different ways. So let's hope and see if she gets better. Peeled and cord. We're studying fruit and biology. Miss Keene has spent a week teaching us the finer points of stamens and pistils, seed pods and flowers. The earth is frozen. It snows lightly at night, but Miss Keene is determined to keep spring alive in her classroom. The back row sleeps until she points out that apple trees need bees to reproduce. Reproduce is a trigger word for the back row. I like how she capitalizes the back row. What does she mean by the back row? And we're talking about in school. What students normally sit in the back row? That's what she's insinuating. And what she's insinuating in it, those are the clowns in the class, the kids who aren't really trying that hard. Listen, she says the back row sleeps until she points out that apple trees need bees to reproduce. Have you ever seen kids sleeping in class like regularly? I mean, do they not care about their grade? Do they not care about their future? If you're sleeping in class, you clearly don't care about your grade. If you don't care about your grade, how much do you really care about your future? It's an interesting question to ask. But of course, she says reproduce. Now, reproduce is a trigger word for the back row. In other words, well, let's just continue. They have figured out it is related to sex. The lecture on pistils and stamens turns into a big ha-ha. Miss Keene has been teaching since the Middle Ages. It would take more than a full row of overheated hypothalami to distract her from the day's lesson. She calmly proceeds to the hands-on portion of the lab. Apples. We each get a Rome or a Cortland or a Macintosh and a plastic knife. We are instructed to dissect. The back row holds sword fights. Miss Keene, I love this part. Miss Keene silently writes their names on the blackboard along with their current grade. She takes 1 point off for every minute the sword fight continues. They go from low B's to very low C's before they figure out what's going on. They howl. So these knuckleheads in the back row are playing around and the teacher's, dropping their grade. They don't even notice it's happening because they don't care and they don't pay attention. The interesting thing, though, is why do they howl when they realize their grades are going down? What do they care about their grades? They don't pay attention or care. It's always very interesting how kids who don't do any work all semester long then come at the end of a semester or marking period and beg for extra credit so that they can pick their grades up. Wait a minute. You didn't care about your grades all semester long. Why do you care now? It's just very interesting. Back row. That's not fair. You can't do that to us. You didn't give us a chance. Actually, she did. It's very well. What are they showing right now? Just how immature they are. And it's proved out by what they say. She takes off another point. They saw their apples, mutter, mutter, curse, curse, old cow, stupid teacher. And then, of course, they sit back there and they blame the teacher for them not doing well in the class or for them losing points or any of those things that they themselves are doing. Of course, blame somebody else. Once again, proving their immaturity. David Petrakis, my lab partner, cuts his apple into 8 equal wedges. Now, remember, David Petrakis is not a back row type person. He is a really good student who has plans for his future already. Listen, he doesn't say a word. He is in the middle of a pre-med week. David can't make up his mind between pre-med and pre-law. 9th grade is a minor inconvenience to him, a Zit Cream commercial before the feature film of life. Now, we've talked about this before, especially the time when Melinda took her job test and she said she had no idea what she wanted to do, but ironically, they told her to go into like firefighting or communications, which is wildly ironic because she doesn't communicate. She doesn't even talk. But I said it to you then. Is there anything wrong with being a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior in high school and not knowing what you want to do with your life? Of course not. Who knows? I'm 46. I still don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. That's why we practice things. That's why we, investigate different areas and we try different things and we take a chance at doing things because who knows, we might be good at it. We might like it. Apple smell soaks the air. One time, all right, let's listen. We're going to a past memory, a flashback. One time when I was little, my parents took me to an orchard. Daddy set me high in an apple tree. It was like falling up into a storybook, yummy and red and leaf and the branch not shaking a bit. Bees bumbled through the air, so stuffed with apple they couldn't be bothered to sting me. The sun warmed my hair and a wind pushed my mother into my father's arms. Look at that. When she was a child, her parents liked each other and they were a happy family. Look. The wind pushed my mother into my father's arms. Truly, wind doesn't push people into each other's arms. What pushed each other into each other? What pushed them into each other's arms? Love for each other. And all the apple-picking parents and children smiled for a long, long minute. That's how biology class smells. I bite my apple. With white teeth, red apple, hard juice, deep bite. David sputters. So, she forgets where she is for a minute. She actually goes back to a place of happiness. And what happens in her happy memory? Her parents are happy together. They're a happy family together. That's why she just steps away for a minute and she bites her apple. Now, of course, you're not supposed to eat the apple. You're supposed to be cutting it up for your science experiment. David is going to have a hard time with that because he wants everything to be perfect. He's a great student. Listen, David, you're not supposed to do that. She'll kill you. You're supposed to cut it. Didn't you even listen? You'll lose points. Now, interestingly enough, I guess they all have their own apple. He's worried about her losing points, which I guess is kind of a good thing. He wants everybody to do well. He doesn't want to see people lose points, which is a nice thing. Clearly, David missed the apple tree sitting requirement of childhood. I cut the rest of my apple into 4 fat pieces. My apple has 12 seeds. One of the seeds has split its shell and reaches a white hand upward. An apple tree growing from an apple seed growing in an apple. I showed the little plant seed to Miss Keene. She gives me extra credit. David rolls his eyes. Biology is so cool. First Amendment, second verse. Rebellion is in the air. We only have a week left before winter break. Students are getting away with murder and the staff is too worn out to care. I just want to point out it's not ironic, it's coincidental that while I'm reading this, we only have a week left until winter break. Actually, today is Tuesday and winter break starts on Thursday. So just a couple of days, I'm just saying. Students are getting away with murder and the staff is too worn out to care. I hear rumors of eggnog in the faculty lounge. This revolutionary spirit is breaking out in social studies class. David Petrakis is fighting back about the freedom to speak thing. Do we recall that time when they had the argument in class, the debate that Mr. Neck started about immigration, and David stood up and gave his opinion, and Mr. Neck didn't like his opinion, so he told him to shut his mouth and be quiet, that the conversation and the debate was over because he said so, and David said, he stood up, he looked at the flag, and then he walked out of class. Well, it's continuing. David is continuing the fight, which is good because Mr. Neck is not a very nice guy. I get to class on time. I don't dare use a stolen late pass with Mr. Neck. Now, that's interesting. Why does she not use a late pass with Mr. Neck? Because Mr. Neck will check the passes. I guess what she's saying is that there's some other teachers in the school who don't check the passes at all. Is that the way it is in school, that some teachers are a little more strict and other teachers are a little more lenient? Yeah. David takes a seat in the front row and sets a tape recorder on his desk. As Mr. Neck opens his mouth to speak, David presses the play and record buttons at the same time, like a pianist hitting an opening chord. Mr. Neck teaches the class straight. Now, what does she mean by teaches the class straight? What I'm assuming she says is now that there's a tape recorder in the room and he knows he's being taped, that he doesn't, he's not rude, he's not disrespectful. When do you notice teachers change and teach differently? When they act nicer, more respectful to the students. They're not rude. They're not disrespectful to the students. When is that? It's like once or twice a year, right? And it's an interesting time. And the answer would be when their supervisors come in to observe us. Have you ever noticed that some teachers change completely when they're being observed? Well, what does that say about them? What does it say? It says they know that what they're doing when the supervisor isn't there is not the right way to go, but they do it anyway. Why? Either because they're rude or they just don't care. I just find that very interesting. Take a look at that. Do you notice any teachers that do that? Me? I don't change at all when my supervisor comes. If anything, I get a little crazier because I want them to see that I really do all those things. And yes, I just said do. I know it, but I don't mind. Let's continue. Mr. Neck teaches the class straight. We are galloping toward the Revolutionary War. He writes no taxation without representation on the board. Very cool rhyming slogan. Too bad they didn't have bumper stickers back then. The colonists wanted a voice in the British Parliament. No one in power would listen to their complaints. The lecture is going to sound great on the tape. Mr. Neck has prepared notes and everything. I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I know it's right here. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. Mr. Neck has prepared notes and everything. His voice is as smooth as a Newport road. No bumps. The tape will not be able to pick up the angry gleam in Mr. Neck's eyes, though. He's staring awfully at David. Watch. He glares at David the whole time he's speaking. If a teacher stared murder at me for 48 minutes, I'd turn into a puddle of melted jello. David stares back. You gotta love David. He's standing up for his rights because he knows this teacher cannot be disrespectful or rude to him. The school office is the best place to go for gossip. I overhear the soundbite about the Petrakis' lawyer while I wait for another lecture from my guidance counselor about not living up to my potential. How does she know what my potential is? Potential for what? When she talks blah, blah, I usually count the dots in her ceiling tile. So what that means is, guys, gals, she doesn't even listen to the woman when she talks to her. When she talks blah, blah, she usually counts the dots in her ceiling tiles, which means she doesn't even look at her. She stares up at the ceiling and just counts dots. And the weird thing is the guidance counselor lets her do that. She doesn't see that the girl isn't listening. Does she not care? Is it just like she says, a blah, blah? She just says the same thing over and over. Next student, because she doesn't care. Interesting, because if the guidance counselor did care about Melinda, she would be talking to her. Why don't you speak? What's going on with your grades? What happened to your old friends? Why no friends this year? The guidance counselor is late today, so I sit invisible in the red plastic chair while the secretary brings a PTA volunteer up to warp speed on the Petrakis thing. David's parents have hired a big, nasty, expensive lawyer. He is threatening to sue the school district and Mr. Neck for everything from incompetence to civil rights violations. David's tape recorder is allowed in class to document potential future violations. The secretary doesn't sound too upset at the idea that Mr. Neck could get canned. I bet she knows him personally. David must have mentioned the hairy eyeball treatment to his lawyer that afternoon because the next day there is a video camera set up in the back of class. David Petrakis is my hero. Wombats rule. I let Heather talk me going into the winter assembly. She hates sitting alone almost as much as I do. The Marthas have not issued an imperial invitation for her to sit with them. She's bummed, but she tries not to show it. In perfect Martha style, she wears a green sweater with a huge Santa face on it, red leggings, and fluffy boots. Too perfect. I refuse to wear anything seasonal. Heather gives me my Christmas present early. Bell earrings that chime when I turn my head. This means I'll have to get her something. Maybe I'll go wholesome and buy a friendship necklace. She's the friendship necklace type. The bells are a great choice. I shake my head all through Principal's speech to drown out his voice. The orchestra plays an unrecognizable tune. Heather says the school board won't let them perform Christmas carols or Hanukkah songs or Kwanzaa tunes. Instead of multicultural, we have no cultural. The high point of the assembly is the announcement of our new name and mascot. Principal reads the vote total. Bees, 3. Icebergs, 17. Hilltoppers, 1. Wombats, 32. The other 1,547 votes were write-ins or illegible. The Merriweather Wombats. That's a nice ring. We are the Wombats. Woozy, wicked Wombats. Worried, withdrawn, weepy, weird Wombats. Now notice, those last ones, worried, withdrawn, weepy, weird Wombats, she's talking about herself. She's not talking about the other people in the school. Yes, she's always worried. Yes, she is withdrawn. She's withdrawn herself from everything. Yes, she's weepy. She cries. She's very upset. And she considers herself weird. Now, before last year, was she any of these things? Now, before the party at Kyle Rogers in the summer, was she worried, withdrawn, weepy, or weird? No. We passed Raven cheerleader and Amber cheerleader on Amber cheerleader on the way to my bus. They wrinkle their brows as they struggle to find Wombat. Democracy is a wonderful institution. Winter break. School is out, and there are 2 days until Christmas. Mom left a note saying I can put up the tree if I want. I dragged the tree out of the basement and stand it in the driveway so I can listen to that. I can put up the tree if I want. So again, no family time in this house. They don't do this together. And no, notice, she left a note. Because remember, they don't talk to each other either in this family. I drag the tree out of the basement and stand it in the driveway so I can sweep the dust and cobwebs off it with a broom. We leave the lights on it from year to year. All I have to do is hang the ornaments. There's something about Christmas that requires a rugrat. Little kids make Christmas fun. Now, is she right about that? Is Christmas better when you have little kids? The answer is, oh, yes. Everybody, you get up early. I know it stinks to get up early. If you have little brothers and sisters, you know what I'm talking about. They'll be kicking you at like 5, 6 in the morning on Christmas. God, they're pulling you out of bed. Come, please. And you go down and you open those presents and you're ripping them. It's just awesome fun. That changes when everybody gets older. Everybody sleeps late. Nobody really cares. Oh, let's do the presents now. Okay. And you come in. It's just not as much fun without little kids. I wonder if we could rent one for the holidays. When I was tiny, we would buy a real tree and stay up. Listen to this. We would get a real tree and stay up late drinking hot chocolate and finding just the right place for the special decorations. It seems like my parents gave up the magic when I figured out the Santa lie. Maybe I shouldn't have told them I knew where the presents really came from. It broke their hearts. Look at that. It seems like my parents gave up the magic when I figured out the Santa lie. Can't they still stay up late and drink hot chocolate and do the tree and the decorations and the presents? Why do they have to be young? Why did the parents give up? Why did the parents not care anymore? Don't they care about their family? I bet they'd be divorced by now if I hadn't been born. That's an interesting statement. I bet they'd be divorced by now if I hadn't been born. Remember the night of the party? She said they came home separately, the mom at 2 and the dad at dawn, and she thinks they were at separate places with separate people. She's insinuating an affair, and I happen to agree with her on that insinuation. That's what it seems like is happening. Very sad. I'm sure I was a huge disappointment. I'm not pretty or smart or athletic. I'm just like them, an ordinary drone dressed in secrets and lies. It's so interesting. She says, I'm not pretty or smart or athletic. By the way, she is pretty. She just doesn't make herself. Is she smart? Of course she is. Can she be athletic? Yes and no. If she tries, it's something. But again, it's all based upon how upset she is from what happened. But look at the next thing. I'm just like them, an ordinary drone dressed in secrets and lies. So first of all, wouldn't you want your kids to be like you? I don't see a problem with that at all. I like my daughters being like me. But an ordinary drone dressed in secrets and lies. A drone is somebody who just goes through life without doing anything different, but in secrets and lies. So not only does she admit that her parents live secret and lying lives, but she does herself. So what's her secret? What happened at the party? How does she lie? Interesting. Let's find out more. What is she lying about? I can't believe we have to keep play acting until I graduate. It's a shame we can't just admit that we have failed family living, sell the house, split up the money, and get on with our lives. Merry Christmas. I call Heather, but she's shopping. What would Heather do if we were here and the house didn't feel like Christmas? I will pretend to be Heather. I bundle up in geeky snow clothes, wrap a scarf around my head, and plunge into a snowdrift. The backyard is gorgeous. The trees and bushes are all wrapped in ice, reflecting sunlight into something powerful. I just have to make a snow angel. I tromp to an unmarked piece of snow and let myself fall backward. The scarf falls over my mouth as I wave my wings. The wet wool smells like first grade, walking to school on a cold morning with my milk money jangling in the tips of my mittens. We lived in a different house then, a smaller house. Mom worked at the jewelry counter and was home after school. Dad had a nicer boss and talked all the time about buying a boat. I believed in Santa Claus. Listen to that. That was back when they were happy, when they were a family. The wind stirs the branches overhead. My heart clangs like a fire bell. The scarf is too tight on my mouth. I pull it off to breathe. The moisture on my skin freezes. I want to make a wish, but I don't know what to wish for. And I have snow up my back. I break off branches from the holly bushes and a few sprigs of pine and carry them inside. I tie them together with red yarn and set them on the fireplace mantle and the dining room table. It doesn't look as nice as when the lady on TV did it. That's Martha Stewart. But it makes the place smell better. I wish we still could borrow a kid for a few days. We sleep until noon on Christmas. I give Mom a black sweater and Dad a CD with 60s hits. They give me a handful of gift certificates, a TV for my room, ice skates, and a sketch pad with charcoal pencils. They say they have noticed me drawing. Okay, wow. So first of all, they give her some thoughtful gifts, right? Gift certificates, that's nice. A TV for her room, very nice. Ice skates, nice. They live upstate. You know, there's a lot of ice and winters are very long there. But the last part is important. A sketch pad with charcoal pencils. They say they've noticed her drawing because she's been drawing those trees. Now watch. I almost tell them right then and there. Stop. I almost tell them right then and there. Tell them what? Tell them what happened at the party. Imagine if she did. How would this book be different if she just tells them now? Would she start to heal now? Because if she doesn't tell them, not only is she not healing, she's getting worse and worse. Tears flood my eyes. They noticed I've been trying to draw. They noticed. I try to swallow the snowball in my throat. This isn't going to be easy. So she still has that ice in her throat, making it impossible for her to speak. She can't say what she wants to tell them. This isn't going to be easy. I'm sure they suspect I was at the party. Maybe they even heard about me calling the cops. Wait a minute, stop. You know, this is weird. Her parents knew that she went to a high school party, a senior in high school party when she was just a freshman. That's a problem. Why aren't they talking to her about that? 2, they even may have known that she called the cops and they're not asking her what happened. OMG, this makes me mad. But I want to tell them everything as we sit there by our plastic Christmas tree while the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer video plays. I wipe my eyes. They wait so they've seen her cry. They see her trying to speak, but they don't say anything. They wait with unsure smiles. The snowball grows larger. Listen. Oh, I said I gave something away before that I shouldn't have given them. Now you're going to hear it. When I snuck home that night, they weren't in the house. Both cars were gone. I was supposed to have been at Rachel's all night long. I'm sorry. I thought we learned this before, but we're learning it now. They weren't expecting me. That's for sure. I showered until oh my God, listen to this. I showered until the hot water was gone. Then I crawled in bed and did not sleep. Mom pulled in around 2 a.m. Dad just before sunup. They had not been together. What had they been doing? I thought I knew. How can I talk to them about that night? How can I start? Listen, I'm going to read this whole paragraph again. It's so important. Oh my God. I wipe my eyes. They wait with unsure smiles. The snowball grows larger. So that's what's in her chest. That's what's stopping her from speaking. When I snuck home that night, they weren't in the house. Both cars were gone. I was supposed to have been at Rachel's all night long. They weren't expecting me. That's for sure. I showered until the hot water was gone. Now that's important. She went into the shower and she bathed herself until the hot water was gone. That could be a long time, especially that late at night. Nobody had been using the water, so the hot water tank was probably full. So she was in there for an hour in the shower. What does that tell us? Why was she doing that? Then she crawled in bed and didn't sleep. So she got into bed at 2 a.m. and didn't sleep all night long. Mom pulled in at 2 and Dad just before sunup, and she was up because she was living over what had happened to her that night. She was so traumatized by it. Where were the parents? They had not been together. What had they been doing? I thought I knew. How can I talk to them about that night? How can I start? Rudolph sets out on his ice floe. I'm independent, he declares. Dad looks at his watch. Mom stuffs the wrapping paper into a garbage bag. They leave the room. I'm still sitting on the floor holding the paper and charcoals. I didn't even say thank you. As a gal, she didn't say anything, and the parents allowed that to happen. Gee, hon, what's wrong? Why are you crying? OMG, honey, what's going on? What's your favorite present? What do you hope to happen this year for New Year's? Anything. They don't even talk. They leave her alone, crying on the floor. If she doesn't speak about this is going to be very bad, very, very bad, and things are going to get worse. Let's hope she does it soon. Remember, that's why they call this novel Speak, not just because she doesn't speak, but because she needs to speak. Everybody make sure you get assignment number 9 finished. Make sure you answer all questions, do your sentences, and do your vocab, and of course, give your 1-paragraph essay giving me details and examples, not just from your life, but also from the book. But it would be better if you did both. Have a great day. Thank you very much.